you all so much for coming. My name is Michael Erickson, and I'm the Regional Director for Manufacture San Jose and your MC for today's event. Welcome everyone to our first State of Local Manufacturing event. It's great to see so many familiar and new faces here supporting the manufacturing sector in San Jose. We have a rich program for you today that will address our opportunities and strengths, as well as some of our challenges as we move into the new decade and make sure we continue to create an environment that makes it possible for manufacturing to thrive. Manufacture San Jose has been in existence since 2018. Our mission is helping manufacturing companies start, stay, and grow in San Jose, creating jobs for local residents and building more shared prosperity and equity across our community. Thank you all for joining us this morning. In particular, I would like to recognize our mayor, Sam Liccardo, who will be here any minute. Knowing Sam, he's probably just finishing a jog and he's on his way. Council members Raul Perales, Johnny Camus, and Marianne Groen, representing Council Member Dev Davis. I'd also like to take a minute and thank Santa Clara County Supervisor Michael Franzino. I would also like to take a minute and profusely and humbly thank my colleagues for helping organize this event. So I can't think of a better way to kick off this event than to have Mayor Sam Liccardo make the opening remarks. The City of San Jose was the first investor in Manufacture San Jose, and with the mayor's leadership, they continue to be an invaluable partner and champion of our work. It's my distinct honor and privilege to have Mayor Liccardo here today. So please join me in welcoming him to the stage.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you this morning. Since this is an election season, undoubtedly you're hearing from a lot of politicians these days. And since you know something about politicians and what they say, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, this guy's going to get up there and he's going to do one of two things. He's going to tell me something I already know, or he's going to ask me to do something, or give something, even worse. And since I am, after all, a politician, I don't think today should be any different than any other day. So first, I'm going to tell you something you already know. And I'm going to start with a question. And the question is, why in the world do we do this now seemingly annually to talk about manufacturing in our region? Why manufacturing? Why don't we do this for software development? Why don't we do it for agriculture or professional services or marijuana dispensaries or petunia growing? We have petunia growers somewhere in our city. I hope I haven't offended anyone who is in the petunia lobby, but we don't do it for petunia growers. So the question is, why manufacturing? What's so important? And you might think, well, because Michael Erickson gives us a free breakfast, and we love Michael. Thank you for hosting. And that were true. Yes, of course. We all love Michael. He's adorable. But actually, that's not the reason. The reason is because we think there's something unique and different about manufacturing. We've learned an awful lot about reshoring and next-shoring over the last decade or so. And what we're learning is that innovating and making are pretty inextricable. They're critically dependent on one another. And particularly in the tech sector, it is that iterative process of being able to create and imagine and make, and having those folks who are doing both things very close to one another and having the creative coalitions in the same place. And so we think it's critically important for us as an innovative region, a region that prides itself in its innovation, to actually have the manufacturing happen here too. It's also the case, of course, for those of us who are concerned about climate change, which I hope is pretty much everybody in the room, since we're all forced to live on the same planet, that shipping has a pretty large carbon footprint. And if we can do our manufacturing locally, we will be dramatically reducing emissions. That is a good thing as well. But I think more than any other reason, for those of us who are deeply invested, and I really want to thank folks who have been deeply invested in this effort. I mentioned Michael, and I really appreciate his leadership. But on our own Office of Economic Development staff, leading the charge, of course, is Kim Wallish, Chris Burton, Nathan Donato Weinstein, Vic Farley, and a whole mighty but small team at the City of San Jose. We have Councilmember Johnny Camus, who I see here. Thank you, Councilmember Camus, for your hard work on leading economic development, as well as Councilmember Raul Perales, who is our downtown council member, which I think is the council district that has more beer breweries than any other district. Yeah, more beer and breweries, yeah. More microbrews than any other district in the entire planet, it seems, which is fabulous, thanks to his leadership, I'm sure. I certainly want to thank, no, I didn't mean it that way. He doesn't drink it, he just supports it. Boy, am I in trouble. Certainly want to thank Coach Kate Sofis, who's been an incredible partner in San Francisco. Thank you so much for everything you have done with SF Made, and members of your team, Janet Lees, Linda Becker, all the folks up in San Francisco have been a great partner for us regionally. So that was a long-winded way of getting to the point, why we all care the most, and that is because, in the eloquent words of President Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. We are increasingly in a bifurcated economy of haves and have-nots, and we are seeing it all around us, particularly here in this valley, of those who have skills that are appreciated in this economy, particularly tech skills, are being richly rewarded, and amid all this prosperity, we have thousands of families that are being left behind and forced out of our region because of increasing rents, and we've got to find ways to be able to build a path for prosperity for those with middle skills, those who do not have four-year degrees. And by the way, that's the majority of adults in our community and in our country. We've got to find a path for everyone to belong in this economy, to be able to prosper and thrive. And thank you. And so that's why we've all been doing this. And I say we, it's really been a lot of the folks I mentioned who have been pushing most strongly, and I really appreciate their leadership. So in San Jose, we're pretty proud that we've got more than 1,500 manufacturers here. That's a lot of folks. In fact, we collectively employ about 90,000 people, about 12% of all of our jobs. And that is, in many ways, astounding, given the incredible cost of doing business in our region. I don't need to tell anyone in this room, it's really hard. And the fact that that many folks are thriving or surviving, depending on your perspective, is pretty impressive. And we have actually attracted and built on this number more than 4,500 jobs in the last 4 years. And so we want to continue to grow this important sector. When you see something is good, you want to water it. And so that brings me to my last point, which is what I'm going to ask you for, which is please tell us, if you are out there doing the hard work of employing folks in building and manufacturing in our city, tell us how we can support you and your industry. It is not always self-evident to us, particularly those folks like myself, who actually never understood how any of those tools work from a young age. We need to be told, we need to be guided, and we need to be informed. So please tell us so we can support you in your important work. I am proud to announce that I think we've just released a report called Report on San Jose's Urban Manufacturing Sector, Sustaining Jobs, Economic Impact, and Shared Prosperity for our diverse residents that just came out. I haven't read it yet, but I know it came out because it was given to me this morning, and so I'm going to have this in my hands. If anybody asks really tough questions, I'll have this for you, but please check it out at your convenience. And with that, Michael, take it away. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Liccardo. So we all know, and as Mayor Liccardo mentioned, how critical the availability of industrial real estate is to our sector. We have recently conducted research on this issue, in partnership with the City of San Jose's Office of Economic Development. We are pleased to be able to share the results of our San Jose manufacturing real estate study with you today. To present the findings, and I would not have known this had Kelly not brought up the second page, please welcome the CEO of Manufacture San Jose and SF Made, Kate Sophis.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see if I can operate the slides, and then we'll be good to go. Yes. So when we talk about manufacturing, I often like to use analogies, and one of my favorites is looking at agriculture and seeing our manufacturers, all of our individual companies, which you'll hear more from a little bit later this morning, as plants, as lovely little plants or big full-grown trees, but all of whom need water and air and soil. So I want to talk a little bit about the soil. As we look at manufacturing across the Bay Area, whether it's in San Francisco or San Jose or Oakland or Fremont or Hayward or Livermore, all of our communities are really struggling right now to figure out how to till the soil for all of the things that we need to grow to make whole cities, whether it's housing or manufacturing or other uses. So this study was commissioned and paid for by the Office of Economic Development here in San Jose to really help us here better understand what's happening with our industrial space and what we can do as a community to really till that soil and make sure that as all of these wonderful plants grow and create jobs and living wage opportunities for people, that they actually have somewhere to stay and grow in place. So I will give you the Cliff Notes version of what we recommend and have discovered through the study, and I know that we will also be sending out a link to the study right after this breakfast, so those of you who want to do a deep dive into it can. And I want to credit actually our research partner, BAE Urban Economics, who did a lot of the number crunching for us, as well as Newmark, who did some of our real estate data. So with that, I'll start with what is manufacturing here in San Jose. And there are lots of ways of cutting the data. But if you look at the kinds of businesses that we have here, it's an incredibly diverse mix. So as I travel around the region and the country, often people think San Jose, okay, if it has manufacturing, it must be consumer electronics or related to electronics or the tech industry. And that certainly is the case. That is a big part of the economy here. But for every one of those companies, we have small furniture manufacturers. We have food and beverage companies, some of whom have been here multiple generations, and some of whom, like one we're going to hear from a little later this morning, are less than a year old. It really is the diverse interplay of all of these businesses of different sizes that makes San Jose such a powerhouse in manufacturing, and that really makes the case for why it's so important that we till the soil and keep these companies here and thriving. So a couple of ways of looking at this. Let's start with the jobs. I know so many of you, I look around today, are working in workforce development, in education, and I really want to give props to all of you. With respect to my team, we're here trying to cultivate a lot of what you've already planted, and many of you have been working towards supporting people and employment in manufacturing for decades. So thank you for having the privilege really to carry forward your work. So one way that we look at some of the more tech-driven manufacturers, many of whom are able to pay average wages of more than $75,000 a year. And one way that we like to talk about those companies is not that they are advanced versus not advanced manufacturing, but really technology-driven manufacturers are next generation, what we are increasingly seeing across all manufacturing as we start to adopt new technologies that make it, in a lot of ways, easier for someone who doesn't have a lengthy experience with one trade skill, or someone who doesn't have an advanced degree in materials science, to be able to actually get in, learn skills, and develop and progress in their wage, in their responsibility, and in their career. One important point I want to make is that for every really big electronics manufacturer, like a Jabil, for example, there is a whole network of smaller, often family-owned contract manufacturers, metal suppliers, component suppliers that feed those larger contract manufacturers and larger OEMs. And it really is that rich interplay of these very big companies and the much smaller but equally technology-enabled companies that provide such a rich array of opportunity for people to earn a living and earn a decent living here in the Valley. The other kinds of manufacturers that we have in this community, and I think it's really important we also recognize the capacity of these companies, are our legacy or vintage traditional manufacturers who may have been in operation back in an industrial area that we don't even see for generations. And these are companies, whether they are making a food product or whether they are making a product that ultimately feeds into furniture manufacturing or other artisanal products, these are equally important jobs because they often represent economic opportunity for families and often ethnic families who started these businesses. They're located throughout the city, which I will show you that in a minute, and again, offers individuals who may not speak English as their first language, who certainly may not have a four-year degree, or frankly, people like my own daughter who's permanently intellectually disabled, but who wants to work with her hands, for people to have the opportunity to express their highest gifts and to be able to earn a respectable living for themselves and their families. So it's really the totality of both of these kinds of manufacturers that make up San Jose. So we're going to talk a brief bit now about space and real estate. So what you're looking at here is the city of San Jose, and the areas in yellow are our traditional industrial zones in the city. So these are the parts of the city that have historically had manufacturing, that are zoned for some degree of industrial use, and where we've seen a concentration, certainly over the years, of manufacturers. However, this next slide, which I find is very interesting, these purple dots are actually where your manufacturers are. So isn't that interesting? We see them scattered throughout the city. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not still a concentration, and certainly some of our larger manufacturers are definitely still operating in your traditional industrial zones of the city. But I think it also speaks to a trend we've seen in San Jose, in San Francisco, and in most other major dense US cities, which is small manufacturing doesn't feel like your grandma's manufacturing plant down the street. Manufacturing now can happen in very small spaces. It can happen in areas that are co-located next to housing. Up in San Francisco, one of our most vibrant growing manufacturers is a company called Heath Ceramics. They're 70 years old. You walk in, they have these huge kilns. They manufacture tile, dinnerware, employ 60 people right across from housing development that has mixed use, mixed income housing right across from office. So the notion, which I'm going to get to in a minute, of having a rich network of jobs co-located next to residential and transit, which we'll talk about, is very possible and is already sort of organically happened here in the community. So what's the tough news? The tough news is that the amount of space you have left to house and to accommodate more of these kinds of businesses is it's getting tougher and tougher. So this is a slide that shows our industrial vacancies here in San Jose, which is sort of precariously low right now, hovering around 3%, 4%, or less, depending upon the neighborhood we're in. The other point I'll make is that your industrial stock for both manufacturing space, and this next slide shows a similar picture for warehouse space, is 90% is more than 30 years old. So you have industrial stock, it's aging, and there's not a lot of it left that will feed your wonderful plants as they try to grow in this city. So that's really what I want to call to everyone's attention. This is another interesting view. This correlates jobs and job density to where companies are located. So if all of these tiny little manufacturers happen across the city, we still do see a concentration of manufacturers in a number of areas across the city. And we're going to do a quick dive into what's going on in 3 of those areas. So I want to introduce a term today, transit-oriented industrial. For those of you who think about, building whole communities, we talk often about having mixed-use neighborhoods near transit. We talk about housing and housing density. We talk about commercial and retail and housing density all fed by transit. I want to introduce the notion that I would like us also to be thinking about making and manufacturing in that mix when we talk about transit-oriented development, because it very well can coexist and provides the very jobs for the folks that we're building affordable housing for. So imagine if we can really think about doing that in these same neighborhoods. So here are 3 neighborhoods I want to call your attention to. So the first is the Monterey Corridor, which I know is under a lot of pressure right now and is really going through some deep thinking about what it wants to become and what that neighborhood wants in its community. You can see, if you look at the corridor, there's already a really interesting mix of various kinds of businesses, and it's a rich transit-served area of the city. So as we think about what do we do with the portions of the corridor that are vacant and not performing for the community, again, I want to really encourage us to think about, rather than replacing or converting former industrial spaces, can we think creatively about how to fit more vibrant, job-sustaining, smaller manufacturing into a diverse mixed-use neighborhood commercial corridor like Monterey. Another area that's near and dear to my heart, because our offices are located over here, is the Berryessa-Bart, soon-to-be Berryessa-Bart station area of the city. This is another area I really want to highlight. We have even more manufacturers existing in this area, and I know as various communities have gotten BART or other major transit nodes coming into their community, there's always a lot of vigorous debate and development pressure to figure out what to do with now the new areas that are going to be served by those major transit nodes. I personally think that it's a real opportunity, if you're going to get that kind of density in transit, to think really creatively about, again, how you don't replace the industrial, but densify what's there. I was asked briefly as I walked in the door today, so I'll digress for 2 minutes to talk about, well, what does that mean? In San Francisco, it's meant, believe it or not, multi-story industrial, which can work in an expensive place like San Jose and in a dense transit-rich area where you can look at building a multi-story project with, in our case, we have office over industrial, where we don't have a contention of problems with industrial operating underneath a housing development, but where the rent or the price that we can get off of the office helps cross-subsidize to make the industrial affordable. So I would encourage us to think quite a bit, especially as we have new transit nodes coming into San Jose. And then last but not least, the Milpitas-Bart area, North San Jose, which arguably is the most dense with some of these next generation larger manufacturers, again, I think is a really critical part and should be part of our thinking about how do we, especially as we have pressure from technology companies who need more office use, this to me would be an ideal place to think about, well, let's not just convert what's left of the industrial. If necessary, this could potentially also be a place where we think multi-story or real mixed use. So last but not least, a few recommendations. Well, this is the Cliff Notes part that's at the end of the report to leave you with. So the first, which may seem perverse, is to strengthen your industrial zoning controls. There is a true desire, I think, in most communities to end up with mixed use. What we discovered the hard way in San Francisco is if you just zone everything mixed use, the development market tends to go to the use within the permitted zoning that's the most profitable. And so zoning it mixed use doesn't necessarily keep it mixed use. So our experience has been really looking at where you want to keep industrial, even if it's parcel by parcel, that it's smart to have tougher controls even as a neighborhood becomes mixed use, so that you don't end up inadvertently still losing the very kinds of industrial stock that you want to keep. The second, and this may seem kind of out of nowhere, but I know a lot of communities, including San Jose, have been struggling with self-storage and the conversion of incredible old industrial buildings and areas to residential self-storage. Many of our cities, and now I can speak nationally, have struggled with this, and if industrial zoning doesn't outright prohibit it, many communities have at least passed interim controls to have a moratorium on self-storage. And I have seen already parts of San Jose that have very quickly had some of this conversion happening. It doesn't generate jobs. It takes up often the exact kinds of industrial stock that you want to be modernizing and filling with manufacturers. So that's a strong recommendation to consider. So this one's a tough one, manufacturing and distribution. So many of our communities, I sort of call it the Amazonification of our warehousing. We see increasing pressure for last mile distribution and other warehousing uses in our cities. It was funny, about 10 years ago it was going the other way, that all the distribution centers were moving out to the Central Valley, and now it feels like everywhere I go, people are saying, we're losing what used to be manufacturing space to warehouse and distribution operations. This one's tricky because unlike self-storage, it actually does also generate jobs. So my suggestion here is that you just really have to have some thought about balance. Most of our zoning codes, including ours in San Francisco, do not differentiate between warehouse distribution and manufacturing space. It may be time to start differentiating between the two, again, so that you can balance both in your community. Back to the 30-year-old stock. So another big transition we're seeing in most of our older cities that have had a history of manufacturing is we've all ended up with these old, large, single-tenant floor plate buildings. Yet where the demand is coming from, and you'll see this in just a minute from all the wonderful manufacturers who are going to tell you about their businesses today, is often coming from much, much smaller companies. In the building that we built in San Francisco, that houses 60,000 square feet of manufacturers, the average size company in our building is in about 3,000 square feet. So thinking about ways and incentives, grants to help property owners divide up their buildings so that it's easier to accommodate smaller manufacturers in what used to be a large building, I think is going to be a really important consideration here in San Jose. And last but not least, I must end on this point. Again, manufacturing creates the jobs for the people that we are building affordable housing for. We need them both, and I hope today is that challenge to all of us in our communities to think about how do we take steps to make sure that they both can coexist, because they can. And that's what I got today. Thank you. Again, we'll send out a link to the report to all of you over email.
Thank you, Kate. Yes, as Kate said, I don't know if you heard over the applause, but you will all receive a copy of the report. The report by the end of today will also be available on our website at mfgsj.org, just in case anybody didn't know. So the next portion of the program is very near and dear to my heart, as is all manufacturing. But if you were to take the old adage that the journey or the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, the food and beverage sector is certainly in there. Across the United States, San Jose is well known for its technological innovation and its advanced manufacturing, from electronics and surface-mounted chips to machined components. Today, as I mentioned, we want to shine a light on another lesser-known but very vibrant sector, food and beverage. Bless you. Food and beverage companies make up a small segment of manufacturing sector here in San Jose, but their ability to shape the cultural landscape of the city and bring communities together is considerable. We will hear from 6 of our local food and beverage companies now, what they're making and why they're choosing to do it here. And I would like to invite them all to the stage at this time. First up is Nathan Pendleton, owner of Knox Cookie Bar here in San Jose.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for attending. It's Michael, thank you so much for having us up here, our 5 minutes of fame. So Knox Cookie Bar is a company I started about 4.5 years ago, and it came from really kind of a frustration in the tech business where I spent 25 plus years in the software industry and was kind of thinking, is this all there is? And so I decided that there's probably something else out there, and I traded in the speeds and feeds for butter, sugar, and eggs, and started up a cookie company. Well, it wasn't just a regular cookie company, it was a late-night warm cookie delivery service, and we started it out of a, yeah, I do see a few customers out in the audience, thank you very much. We started out of a commercial kitchen in North San Jose, and pretty industrial area, great for getting started, but a great place to do our delivery piece. And as we started to grow, we started to have people start to find us. And I kid you not, I had one night, late night, 10 o'clock at night, somebody, a young woman comes in, and she's holding her phone out in front of her. And I'm like, what's going on? She says, this is pretty dark and sketchy out here. I wasn't sure what was behind the door, so I'm FaceTiming my mom, just in case something happens. And so I said, you know, it's probably time to have a proper retail shop. So we were able to grow. 2 years ago, we started our location in downtown San Jose, and we're 1 block over, 2 blocks up, downtown San Jose, 2nd Street. From there, we do worldwide headquarters. We do all of our manufacturing in the back. We manufacture the cookie dough. We sell it out through the front. We have a wholesale business. We do our packaging there. And we've been able to serve our customers and grow there. Michael asked me to talk about why San Jose. Well, it was really simple for us. Our business was really located in downtown San Jose because that's where our customers are. So we have 3 segments. We have a corporate customer that we address Monday through Friday typically, so I want to have lots of companies nearby that I could address in a short distance as a delivery service. We also have a residential walk-in clientele, daytime, nighttime, late night, and the late night business really is driven by students. So we're 2 blocks away from San Jose State. We're a short DoorDash delivery location to Santa Clara University. And so right there in downtown, we can serve all of those market segments, and it's critical for us. We've been able to expand our business from just a retail store, and at Michael's encouragement, actually, I really thought of the company mostly as a retail shop. He said, well, you're manufacturing cookies, so what can you do to get more capacity, more customers? And so last year, we built up a wholesale business. And we started to find success at a couple coffee shops. We're at Los Gatos Coffee Roasting Company. We started to see success at a retail store. It's called Safeway. You might have heard of it. So we're actually in 4 Safeways, 2 in Willow Glen, 1 in Los Gatos, 1 in Cupertino. We've been able to expand into San Jose State University on-campus markets. So where they have 4,000 students in 3 towers of dormitories, they come down the elevator, ground floor, Village Market, Knox Cookie Bars, right there, package ready to go. It's been phenomenal for us. And the last one that I really like is we are now selling cookies at the SAP Center. So every Sharks game, they asked us if we could make a big cookie. So we have an 11-inch cookie, and our company name's Knox. Well, this is such a big cookie, we call it the obnoxious cookie. And so the next time you're at the Sharks game, ask for the obnoxious cookie, and you can feed yourself and your family and the whole row, probably. You know. So looking forward, this next year, what we'd really like to do is expand our wholesale business. We are also expanding our menu. So we're looking at making our retail store more of a dessert destination. So we'll have cookies. When we brought the store in, we have Treat Ice Cream, local manufacturer, great ice cream, so we have ice cream there. We are also partnering with many other food and bev local companies, such as Sweet Dragon, who makes the best mocha cakes in the world. And we'll be bringing out more things like lemon bars and brownies and different types of desserts. So we'll make the store a dessert destination, build our wholesale business, and with luck and success, we hope to have more retail locations and bigger manufacturing sites. Thank you.
There we go. Next up, I'd like to introduce Peter Light, brewmaster from Hermitage Brewing Company.
Good morning, I'm Peter Light from Hermitage Brewing. We've been brewing as Hermitage Brewing in San Jose for just over 10 years now. We opened in 2009, but our history of producing beer in San Jose goes back quite a bit further. We were a spin-off of the Tide House brewery brew pubs. The first one was in Mountain View that opened in '87, and then we opened one in San Jose in 1991. So we've been brewing in San Jose for almost 30 years now. In 2009, our lease was up for the Tide House restaurant, and we decided to stop doing the restaurant portion of it and create and focus on manufacturing only. So that's when we created the Hermitage entity, and we removed all our brewing equipment from the restaurant and moved it to an industrial space and started Hermitage. And that's what we've been doing ever since. It's been going really well. The whole industry as a whole has been booming. The craft beer industry has really exploded in the last 5 years. I think nationally the number of breweries has doubled from about 4,000 to about 8,000. So we kind of rode the wave of the growth of the industry, and we grew along with it, and now we are a fairly large manufacturing facility. We employ about 35 people in San Jose, including our tap room, tasting, and stuff like that. Actual manufacturing is probably about 15 to 20 people. And so we're happy to be able to do it here. One thing that is really kind of key for, I think, the craft brewery sector is the local market. I mean, we're not really in San Jose for any other reason than we were already here. We like San Jose. We needed a manufacturing, and really, San Jose had a lot of people, a lot of economy here. It was very underserved by craft beer. I mean, as you see what's happened in Raul's district, where we are, the number of breweries has just exploded. We were one of the very first. I think we were probably the first manufacturing-only brewery in San Jose, other than Gordon Biersch. So in the years that we've been open, we've seen a flourishing of breweries around, and we think it's absolutely fantastic. We love to have more of a community of brewers, more of a reason for people to support local breweries, have a somewhere, we kind of think that, we started a destination for people who want to go visit breweries. We have a tap room that's open most days of the week, and it's kind of nice to be part of the community manufacturing for the local market. I guess that's about all. I've covered everything. Rather brief, but.
Thank you, Peter. And if I could just add also about both Hermitage and generally the craft breweries in San Jose. Couple things that stuck out for me. One is the first time I met with Peter back a year and a half ago, give or take, we were talking about, I asked him if because of the explosion of craft breweries, do they see each other as competitors? And he said, well, really, no. We see ourselves as competing against, the big boys, but for us, it's, we all really work together. And I asked him to some extent to expand on that a little bit, and he said literally to the point of they will call each other and, ask if they have ingredients to share. So it's a very tight knit community, and each one is just fantastic to visit. So if you haven't, I certainly invite you to check them all out. They're incredible. Next up, I would like to welcome Heath van Gienhoven from Chromatic Coffee Roasting Company.
Hello, good morning. My name is Heath. I'm with Chromatic Coffee Company. We started the company back in 2012. I've been in this area working in coffee since 2009. One of the few industries that I think did really well during the recession period. People seem to like to drink a cheap luxury coffee and beer a lot. I think it helps with the financial pains. Let's see, the company is about 22 people strong now, mainly manufacturing. We've moved around our roastery a lot, but we're finally landed in the Midtown Mercantile Arts Center. I urge you all to visit me. Hoppus is also down the way, so it's pretty nice. But I have a strong love and passion for coffee. I have loved the idea of coffee for a long time. I love roasting the coffee. I love the smell that it produces. And figuring out how to purchase products directly from producers overseas, mainly in Honduras and El Salvador. Ethiopia is a big focus country for us as well. So creating these tight bonds with other people that aren't here and kind of inspiring them about like, what is it that inspires us to serve this community? We service a lot of tech companies. Some people know us from their bars that we've built at eBay or many other tech campuses in the area. But manufacturing coffee is a very interesting creature because you can all come to our new cafe at 460 Lincoln and see the process unfolding behind you as well. But coffee hasn't always been like just the roasted product. We service machines, we repair machines, we get products from other companies serviced to you. We work with a lot of local companies in distribution. We do a lot of our own distribution. But the inspiration for me in this area was always, this used to be farmland, and coffee still is farmland in other places. And coffee is also very much about technology. There's always new machinery, there's always new things to make a new cup of coffee or a new service. So for 2020, we're still very much focusing on how to build out our online presence, how to sell more coffee online, how to maybe streamline more technologies into the actual experience of being in the cafe, how to make transactions a little bit easier, and how to pique your curiosity about what it is that's important about the coffee trade, international trade, what those markets look like, and how we can all be better about doing something that has more of an economic impact for more people while still enjoying a high quality product that we reward based on the efforts of people doing a really awesome job and sharing what they love the most. Thank you so much.
Next up, Wei Ling Su from Sweet Dragon Baking Company. Is that for me?
Later, Michael, later. So I don't have a sales and marketing team, so I have to take every opportunity. Just, okay. So I started Sweet Dragon Baking Company 9 years ago because I perceived a gap in the local cuisine. Where are the fancy pies? There's no pie. Where do you get a pie? I moved here from New York 20 years earlier and waited patiently for someone to start a pie business so I could buy pies, and nothing ever happened. Like, we're in the Valley of Heart's Delight. Where are the apricot pies? So anyway, I decided to start this business, but I got a little distracted from the pies, because somebody asked me to make peanut brittle, which I wasn't interested in at all, but it turns out it can be pretty good. So we started making peanut brittle, a few different flavors. Early on, won a couple of awards, and so now we've got fancy packaging, thanks to a grant from Whole Foods. And anyway, so you can get this now in Whole Foods. Sunbasket distributes it, and Good Eggs. Anyway, that was my commercial. But then, okay, so then once that settled down, it did turn to pies, and I really like pie. There doesn't seem to be a pie culture here, but there's a lot of good fruit here. So I've partnered with local farms, small farms like Andy's Orchard in Morgan Hill, Previdelli Farms in Watsonville for apples, pears. Andy's has all kinds of stone fruit that you never see anywhere else. We use organic flour from Justos, which is milled in South San Francisco, and so trying to keep it local as much as possible. And we operate, I have 8 employees, everyone's in production, I do everything else, and we work out of an old restaurant kitchen in a light industrial area on Lincoln Avenue. It's right in front of Mr. T's Liquor Locker. There's no sign or anything, we're not open for retail, but if you need something, you just call me, we'll make it for you. And for the coming year, we're moving into catering more things. So, hey, at your office, when it's somebody's birthday, why have cake? Why not have pie? So you can just call me and we'll make pies for you, or if you insist, a cake. We're not as good at cake. And, but there's room for everybody, right? So my goals for the coming year are to keep my little crew intact and fully occupied, and to make a boatload of products. Oh, and money. Okay, so, all right. Oh, also we're at Farmers Market downtown. I see customers.
Thank you, Aileen. So next up, I'd like to invite Virag Saxena from 10th Street Distillery.
Thank you, Michael. You could have left those pies here for me. So there's an old saying, give a man fish and you'll feed him for a day. Give him some grain and he'll make alcohol. So when I first landed here in 1992, the only American beer I had at that point of time was Budweiser. And I thought it must have gotten spoiled on the way to India. So, but a friend took me to Tide House, and we had some, and I had never had beer like that. It was an epiphany. I'm like, wow, beer can be so good. So, like Nathan, I went off in the high-tech field, and after about 20 years, there was this gnawing thing, because what has been happening in technology, you get more and more disconnected from your local community. And you're talking to somebody across time zones, but you're not really connected where we grew up, and when you have connections with the people, with your local suppliers, with local producers, none of that was there. And so I too decided to ditch bits and bytes for nuts and bolts. And one of the things, and there's already a lot of great beer being made here, great wine being made here, and I was like, why isn't someone making, one of the things which I liked was whiskey, a great single malt over here. And being inspired by things done by folks like Hermitage and Gordon Biersch, I decided to go down this road of, there's a saying which says if you want to make a small fortune in wine business, you have to start with a big fortune. I didn't have that, so I didn't go to the wine industry, I went to the whiskey industry. Why we came to San Jose is, there were multiple reasons why San Jose actually came to the top of the list. Number one was Mayor Sam Liccardo's initiatives on food and beverages. When we went in and talked to different cities, San Jose actually had someone who was focused on bringing craft beverages to the city. It took us a grand total of 1 day to get all our permits. And this is a complex permitting process. It's the first craft distillery, grain to glass, to open over here. A whole bunch of processes, things which you go through had never been done before. But what we found is that most of the staff, and you will hear bad things about permitting, planning. Most of the staff had a can-do attitude on how do we make these things work for you. And that was versus some of the other places we would go in and talk to the cities, and they didn't know about it, and they didn't want to deal with it. We are happy just having more high-tech coming in. Here, there was actually a focus on bringing that in. And for us, that was a huge thing on getting things going and getting things moving. There is a very strong infrastructure in San Jose. So when there are very specific needs you need a certain sprinkler density, you need a certain gas power, you need a certain ability to take, and all of those things, when you put those things in, it whittles down. A whole bunch of cities I won't name actually don't even have capacity where we would have had to ship effluent out to Oakland and get it dumped over there. So that whole strong infrastructure, the only thing which San Jose didn't have was available real estate. It took us about a year to find a suitable space, but once we found the space, we started moving. It moved fairly quick, and within 6 months, we were up and running. In 2017, we started distilling. And the other thing is a very strong support from local crafts, bars, and stores. We have found there's the San Jose pride, and I love it. I love it when you go to some other city, and they taste your whiskey, and they say, where are you making it? And you say, San Jose, and they go, San Jose? And you're like, yes, San Jose. Good stuff comes from San Jose. So we are available at about 125 locations across California. We launched a product. Whiskey takes a little bit of time to age, so we launched it last year, and there are about, if you go to most of the craft bars around here, Paper Plane, Haberdasher, 55 South, Rookies, Mini Boss, Lexington House, you will find our whiskey. Some of them have crafted cocktails like Miracle on 10th Street, so you can go try that if you want. I know I'm not supposed to promote the bars, as well as small stores and big stores. So Total Wine is carrying us, Whole Foods is carrying us, and then you can go to little stores, Don's Liquors and Wines, Cask and Flask, Bascom Liquor and Food. So there's a whole bunch of places which are carrying us. For 2020, what are our objectives? Our objectives are to get into hotels like this. Most of the downtown hotels still don't carry our whiskey, which we are making here, and we are working on that. And council member Raul Perales has very graciously offered to help us in figuring out why is that so. But when visitors come to San Jose, and they should be able to, try out local products. So that's one of the things that you're focusing on. So, thank you.
So I will also say that, so this next one I found out just recently about, and they catered our last Silicon Valley Manufacturing Roundtable, and was just blown away that the food they offered was, certainly for someone who you may not be able to tell, but I'm not really a purveyor of vegan food. But this was incredible. It just blew me away. So it is my pleasure to welcome Rosa Contreras from the California Vegan Food Company.
No, all right. Failed plan. Hi, everyone. My name is Rosa from California Vegan Food Company. I'm owner and operator. And yes, we make vegan food, so we can get that out of the way real quick, say all the bad things, think all the negativity. It's not nasty. It's actually really, really delicious if you're not gluten-free. We're working on that. So if you are gluten-free, I'm sorry, I don't have a product for you right now. We do sell jackfruit, but essentially our core business is manufacturing. We also do what I call a mobile restaurant, and we're at a farmer's market. We go to festivals, we go to different community events, and we operate out of a commercial kitchen on Winchester and Hamilton called 1505 Kitchen Space. And so we are, as Michael mentioned earlier, we're very young. I started March of last year, so we're not even a year old yet. And we are a scrappy team of 4 people. We only manufacture 1 day a week because I still have a full-time job, making it work, paying the bills. And we really do our best to be the bridge between, right, what I like to call a meat-centric culture into more of a plant-centric culture. And it's not about taking meat off of the menu forever, because that's not feasible, right, for us as a community, as a world who is heavily dependent on animals to support our own livelihood. But what it really is about injecting more nutrition into our everyday lives. It's about providing a solution to the protein problem that we have currently, which is, right, a big driver in the environmental crisis that we're facing. So California Vegan Food Company, you can find us, right, like I said, at our farmers market. If you're in San Francisco, we're also at Green Taste, which is the first vegan all grocery store on Filbert in the Ferry Building area. We're trying our best to get into different stores, but obviously as a small, scrappy team, distribution and all of that is a difficult solution to find. In addition to that, we're working with a couple cafes in Oakland and in Berkeley, and I really would love to be an accessible meat option. So in the next couple years, we look to grow into our first home. I would love to have like a retail space and a manufacturing space. So if any of y'all have any suggestions, I'm super open. In addition to funding, if anybody has some creative funding ideas for us, that would be fabulous. Let's see, what else? Other than that, I am born and raised in San Jose, so I noticed that was a big difference between myself and my panel mates. This is my home, right? So why San Jose? Because I have my heart and soul here. My family's here, all of my friends are here, right? All of my schools are here. I would love to raise my own family here someday, and I don't see a possibility for that for me unless I pursue, right, this business adventure, as I like to call it. So thank you all for being here today for Manufacture San Jose. Appreciate it.
Can I have another round of applause for all of the food and beverage manufacturers here? You guys can go back to your seats now. Thank you. So the next portion of the event is around the advanced manufacturing sector. So the advanced manufacturing sector represents the greatest opportunity for wage growth for those who enter the workforce without a four-year degree and is critical to the overall health of San Jose's economy. Next up is a panel discussion moderated by Chris Burton, Deputy Director of the San Jose Office of Economic Development, with three of our leading advanced manufacturing companies. We will learn about the challenges and opportunities these companies face and their plans for continued growth and sustainability. If I can welcome to the stage Chris and the three panelists for this panel.
We're going to play. Is it on? Hello. Good morning. It's so great to see so many people that I know in one place. How's everyone doing? Good. Excellent. So first, I just want to say a huge thank you and congratulations to Michael and Kate and the team. A grown-up event like this for manufacturing in San Jose has been kind of a dream for about 10 years, so really glad you guys came along and finally pulled it off for us. And I want to thank them, for the opportunity to hold a microphone at the event. More for you. So Michael called up and he said, let's do a panel on advanced manufacturing. We'd love for you guys to focus on some of the key companies in the area. I was like, great, Michael, I've got it. I can take this. I know just who we want to put on the panel. So I didn't even have to rack my brains. I knew exactly the types of companies we wanted. I was like, it's fine. What we'll do is we'll get you one of the leading contract manufacturers, one of the largest contract manufacturers in the world that builds some of the most advanced and cool products that you will find out there. I've also got a great OEM in San Jose. They build some amazing products in aerospace and defense. And lastly, I've got a tremendous new company to San Jose who builds stuff that goes into space. How cool is that? It wasn't until last night that I finally realized that I've invited three companies that really can't talk about what they build. but it's fine. So in the spirit of not trying to create any problems for national defense or trade secrets, I'm going to start with a really sort of softball and introduce our guests firstly. I didn't realize I was doing I'll do the introductions. That's good. So please, everybody, welcome Zahid Hussain, who's the VP of Operations for Flex, formerly known as Flextronics. We have Kelly Dutra, who's the Director of Manufacturing for Microelectronic Solutions at Cobham Advanced Solutions. And Paul Esty, who's the Executive VP for Maxar, who others may know as Space Systems Loral. Welcome, guys, and thank you so much for joining us. So my easy start to the day will be, in 1 minute or less, please explain what exactly your job is in the style of talking to a fifth grader.
Okay, I can start. First of all, Chris, we can talk all we want about our satellites, because we make satellites for communication services. So we make these incredibly complex machines, we put them in the nose of a SpaceX rocket, and we launch them into outer space. And from 22,000 miles above the surface of the Earth, we're able to communicate to literally half of the people on the Earth at any given time. So we provide data, voice, and video services all around the globe. So Judy, that YouTube video you just watched, part of that was transmitted through our satellites. And you know that TV that your parents, actually probably your grandparents now are watching? We built almost all the satellites in the world for direct broadcast TV, for example, for DirecTV, Dish Network, and equivalent companies around the globe. And lastly, as you're driving your minivan to school, you're listening to Sirius XM radio, we built almost all of their satellites as well. And all of that is done here in the Bay Area.
Thank you. Okay, so I got to compare this, what we do for telling a fifth grader, so I had to think about that a little bit. So I think one thing that all elementary school children are familiar with is the cell phone. So if you have a cell phone today, use that to call your parents, to call your friends. But they have a really cool app called Find My Friends, right? So you push that, and then you know where all your friends are instantly. So what our company does is we manufacture electronics like you would have in a cell phone, but it helps the warfighter, whether it's the pilot or the guy with the boots on the ground, to know where all his friends are, but also know where his non-friends are, and to be able to navigate, instead of Google Maps, which tells you where roads are, you know, our warfighters are up in the sky. There's no roads, right? It's just air, space. They might be out in another country that's just all desert. So it allows them to know where they are, communicate that back to the home front, to know how to track missions that they're running and see where everybody is. And so that's it in a nutshell. And so what my group specifically does in San Jose is we manufacture that kind of hardware that goes in fighter jets, that goes in the ground. We might sell components to this guy over here that goes in the satellites. But we build it, so if you have a cell phone, you got to go get the case, you got to get the glass, you got to get all the electronics that go inside, and then you got to glue all that stuff together and then test it to make sure it works. That's what we do for the electronics that we make for our military.
Thank you, Kelly. Fifth grader, right? Chris?
or a city government employee. That'd be great.
All right. I will say that I play a very small part in building up the future of the world. And I will say, and we always say that, there is not a single day in your life where you don't touch products which we make. So that's a big statement, and really, I believe in this one. And the operations, the facility we are running, it is one of the kind in the world, in all sense. If you want to ask detail, I can give you the numbers, but definitely is a very interesting adventure for us. We build the future of the world. Thank you.
That's great. And so just to throw in my 10 cents, because I am the proud owner of a fifth grader at home, he has some idea of what I do. He knows I work for like government, and he knows that I kind of work with businesses. But then he looks at me and he says, but you're kind of like an FBI agent, right? And so I do the responsible parenting thing and say, yup. So back to manufacturing. Okay, so I want to do a quick poll on whether or not, just very quickly, you think manufacturing is thriving or surviving in the Bay Area today.
From our perspective, it's surviving. It's not really thriving. We don't buy that much from Bay Area companies. Machine shop, yes, we buy from machine shops. We buy from International Rectifier and General Dynamics here, and that's about all the local buying that we do.
From our company's perspective, it's thriving as we try to get other suppliers on board. We're finding that a lot of the suppliers are busy. They're at capacity, and so we have to look out of the area to find suppliers. And then both internally, we're growing like crazy, and we're hiring a lot. And we find that other industry is going through the similar things that manufacture products similar to us.
We are thriving. We are really, really strong for a future. Actually, what we built, a very small portion of it, we are building the future technologies. This is the hub. We call it technological hub here. And in 5G, you have seen it's coming. We are in it. Autonomous vehicles, we are in it. And telecommunications, very heavy facility here on telecommunications network, security switches, and also in industrial, aerospace, defense. So we see the future. We are looking at the future technologies, and we are always 3 to 4 years ahead of the technology. When you hear the word, we're already building it. When you see a new product, we had built it 2-3 years ago. So that's what we built. We have a big campus here with 12 buildings and about 2,000 people working here. And it's a big, big adventure for us that building the future. So that's really great.
So Heath, if we can just stay with you for a minute, because from a pure economics basis, it makes absolutely no sense to manufacture products in the Bay Area. It's a high-cost location. There's a lot of demand for talent. It's very competitive. Logistics are important, and we have the worst traffic in the nation. So what's so special about being here that really makes sense for Flex to have such a significant presence?
In this Bay Area, we have about 350 plus more product-related companies, and we work with about 210 plus of them. It's a very wide scale of innovation, which we are seeing it. We are an innovation region. We are an innovation company. We came out from the contract manufacturing in 2012, the site, and we are going towards innovation for last 7-8 years. And we see that we are going to be so close to our innovators, and we take our products from innovation, from design, from the napkin to the manufacturing. So we built manufacturing. Actually, San Jose, you guys look at, we have manufacturing in San Jose. We look at it a different way. We look at San Jose as a manufacturer. We defined manufacturing for the whole world, and I have a very great examples for that. And Chris has not given me too much time, but I can tell you that most of the products in technology which is coming up, and also from the household, coffee machines and vehicles, all these new things are coming up, aerospace, defense. That's a very complicated, which we do here locally. And also we are doing from the perspective of industrial, which is we are going to the farms. We call that smart farms. So that's all are coming. So we see, because you need to be close to the innovation, we are close to the innovation, we are with the innovation, and we define manufacturing here.
That's great, thank you. And so, Kelly and Paul, is the same true sort of from your guys' perspective, given that you're in a slightly different segment, sort of building products for your own company?
Yeah, for us, our heritage is that our company started in Palo Alto, over 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And the talent base that we have, that we've developed, is over time. So there's a lot of professionals and workforce that are highly skilled, and it would be extremely challenging to take up and move and go somewhere else, because they're all here, their families are here. And then the other thing is that there are still other companies doing similar, electronics, maybe for a different industry in the area. So you don't want to be isolated in an area that isn't doing similar electronics. And we also need to stay, in this country. We can't manufacture out. A lot of the manufacturing is left because they found it cheaper to go offshore. But we're not going to do that because of our government contracting. We need to do it here for security reasons. So it would be very challenging if we had to move, and that's not what we want to do. We want to stay here. We want to thrive here. The people like it here. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to have customers come. And of course, a lot of our suppliers are also local. So it would be not good if we had to move.
That's great. It makes my job easier to have a captive audience from a retention standpoint. But.
Yeah, our story is very similar to Kelly's. Our product, you can imagine, the satellites are all custom made. They're all handmade. The talent that goes into it is, enormously skilled. And here in the Bay Area, we have a lot of skilled, hands-on people. We have about 2,000 people in our company. About 700 of those are technicians with hands-on work. And they come out of the military. They come out of community colleges and the like. And the talent that we have here, with this kind of product, we're able to attract talent, particularly in South San Jose. So I agree with Kelly. We've looked at moving to Alabama and Mississippi and places like that. It just makes no sense at all, just because of the skill sets that we need.
That's great. And Paul, so you guys have recently gone through a fairly significant relocation, right? Entering the San Jose market. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of that decision process?
Yeah, so we started actually as Philco Ford up in Palo Alto in 1957. Our main base is in Palo Alto. We had a bunch of leased buildings, but some of the larger tech companies bought them all. And basically when our leases ran out, they wouldn't renew. And so we looked around. Again, we did look at going out of state, and we found a beautiful building, well, not so beautiful when we started, but it is now, down on Little Orchard Road. It's about 160,000 square feet. It was a General Electric building, and we've renovated it. And with the help of the building department, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, we got through the permitting process extremely smoothly. We had to build a number of clean rooms, add a lot of electricity, and really modernize the building, and we did that extremely quickly. We've got about 300 people down there now. The experience has been absolutely fantastic. And we're on our third wave of renovating another part of the building right now.
Which leads me right into my next question. So are you guys sort of growing right now? Are you kind of maintaining? Is the strategy sort of just relocate out of buildings because of the other pressures?
No, we're actually growing. So we're developing a product now. If you looked at some of the images that Kate showed, it had a little symbol called Digital Globe on the bottom. We're building Earth observation satellites now for Digital Globe, which provides all of the mapping services to Google and equivalent companies around the world. And those satellites are now being built in our San Jose facility.
And as you looked at space, we heard from Kate earlier about the sort of availability. Sort of how was that search? Was there space out there?
We moved in 2015, and if you saw her plot, there was a fair amount of vacancy at that point. So for us, it was actually relatively easy. We're looking to expand again this year, and we are looking in San Jose, and it's a lot tighter now than it used to be, for certain.
Great, thank you. And so Kelly, sort of the story with Cobham, you guys have been in your facility for quite some time now.
Since 2000, yeah.
Right, and so are you guys growing? Are you maintaining?
So we're definitely growing. Fortunately, we have a large manufacturing building and administrative building, and there's still room to do more manufacturing. So our issue will be as we grow over the next 5 years, our projections are showing that we'll have to find more space. But really just for the administrative and for the professionals. We have plenty of manufacturing space, which is good. And where we are is in Southeast San Jose, and so we've just recently looked, and there's still plenty of space for us to grow in that area and buildings that aren't occupied. So we feel like we're in good shape.
Great, and Zahid, we love having the headquarters here in San Jose, but this is my chance to push you to relocate all the production. No, I'm just kidding. Tell us about how things are looking.
We are growing. We are growing to the extent that in the future, like 5G is coming, it's a big thing for us because it's a new technology. We are setting up the standards of Industry 4.0, which is very critical for the future of industries. So we look from the bigger and high level perspective that what is the contribution of our site. So we have 12 buildings, which is manufacturing. One is headquarter, and we are a worldwide company. So this area is actually driving a growth. And also at the same time, we are driving growth of Asia and Mexico and Europe too, because we transfer products from this site. And all the new products which is being innovated in this valley, we take them outside for the volume production, and we also keep volume production here. So if you look at, we are a $26 billion company, and this facility here is the 6th largest in the world. So it's a volume, and it's a new product introduction.
I'm going to make this a bit of a leading question. Just given the situation around workforce and the challenges around cost of living, is there a tipping point at which this becomes a less viable region for manufacturing? Kind of what does that look like? So as we as policymakers and others really think about this and sort of maintain this region as a strong manufacturing hub, what are the things that we need to focus on?
You want me?
Sure. Yeah.
I think since 2002, when we started offshoring, definitely this region belongs to manufacturing. We started transferring out business to Asia and to Mexico because of the cost. We cannot maintain the cost. There is no such word that we cannot expand our manufacturing here. So we transferred lots of projects every year. So last year, I transferred about $400 million of business to other sites. And in the last 4 to 5 years, we had done $2.4 billion of transfers. So this big transfer is because we cannot maintain the cost. That's the only thing. We don't see that we don't have opportunities. Everyone comes to us and say, we want to stay. Can you keep it? That's why we keep a very large manufacturing here. But most of the time, they said, can you please transfer to a low-cost region? And this low-cost region is because of the cost of living and transportation. We are really hitting from the transportation perspective. Definitely, I heard since morning, you guys are working on it. It is hitting us hard. Cost of living is really hitting us hard. Our people, 80% of our employment is in San Jose. And around the Bay Area, everyone commute every day. So yeah, this is a serious concern about for the future. If you say that manufacturing will not grow in San Jose because of these two things, other than that, we have plenty of opportunity.
Great, and Kelly, sort of how does that look for Cobham as well?
Yeah, for Cobham, it's really the same. 100% of the people live close by, or some drive a couple hours so they can have the bigger home and whatnot. But it's not, our ability to drive out cost is really just through the engineering and the innovation we have in our company. So our issue is finding the talent. And so for us to continue to thrive, it's primarily technicians, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about that later, so I'll hold back. But we feel that our company, because it's high-end technology, we offer a lot of opportunity for people to grow within the manufacturing sector and earn a salary that will allow them to live in the Bay Area and to make salaries in that, someone said earlier, in that 75 average K plus a year. It's not a stretch. We just got to develop that talent, create that pipeline, and hiring. And I see you nodding your head because I know you got the same problem. We got to find the same kind of people and work together to get those people on board. But I don't think it'll be an issue because we have those people today. They're here, they're local. But whenever we try to work with people to try to get them into the industry, and they're not local from the area, it's hard for people to come here. That part's true. But there are people here that need jobs, so we just got to get them to the right manufacturing sector.
Yeah, I can't add much more to that. It's really transportation and talent in our books. We have people, again, that do the 2-hour commute from Tracy, Livermore, Modesto, et cetera. Getting them here is increasingly more difficult, as you all know. And then if we could have affordable housing, maybe we solve that problem. Don't know. But the talent is the biggest thing by far.
Great. And so, as we look at the industry as a whole, we think about the sort of breakdown of talent, when we look across our entire manufacturing industry. And we know that there's, it's not all just production, right? That there's probably about 20% sort of production on the technical side, probably about 20% is engineers. There's a lot of software now in manufacturing, so that makes up, a significant proportion as well. What's the sort of rough breakdown as you see it in your company of kind of the high-level talent versus, the type of talent that maybe has less than a 4-year degree?
Well, it's all high-level talent in our books, whether you have a 4-year degree or a 2-year community college certificate. We do a lot of hands-on, as I said earlier, a lot of hands-on stuff. Software is not really dominant in the product we make. It's all physical things, amplifiers and receivers and things like that. So what we're really looking for is a continuing, talent pool that we can draw from in the local area.
And so, Kelly, this is your moment. Tell us about what you guys are doing
What
to
we're
really
trying
get
to
ahead
do.
of it.
Okay. So it's really the same thing. So to give you a feel for it, so our company, we are 70% operations manufacturing. We are 20% engineering and little to no software, more support, just to deal with, data management. So what we're doing is that our biggest problem that we're having at Cobham right now is finding technician talent. We used to just be able to find people from other, companies in the valley, and there were schools popping them out with 2 years degrees or certificates, and pretty much that talent is evaporated. And we're really just working off whatever talent is out there today that's, aging in the workforce, and that's it, and there's nobody new coming in. And so what we're doing is that through a journey that we've been on for about 3 years, we thankfully now, with help from Work to the Future, I see Lawrence over there, I want to thank you, we've landed a really good opportunity with Evergreen Valley College. And so my company, working with Monty Dickerson, the dean over there, and with NextFlex, who's helping to program management, we have developed a advanced manufacturing technology program. So partnering together with them and then with other industry cohorts, we got together and we figured out what is the technician talent that our industry is looking for? Because we can't just design it for Cobham. It has to be something that's sustainable. So we need the other companies to be hiring from this pool that we're going to create. And so we came up with a program that the first year you get a basic technician certificate, and it really teaches the students just the basics of math and electronics, what manufacturing is, how to read a print, because this was all common to all the manufacturers. And then the second year, it allows them to get to that advanced level, to more that technologist level, so they could even go at a higher level to these companies. And that'll teach them more hands-on problem-solving skills. It'll allow them to specialize in either the electronics track, which is what we're looking for, or the mechanical, which may be more for a company like Jabil, or the material, which is what DuPont was looking for. So together we created this. We are launching year 1 in the fall. We're very excited about that. And so the idea is that when this talent pool comes out, after that first year certificate, they can already hire in, not at entry level, but the first technician level. So that's going to get them well above minimum wage. It's going to allow them to work in that $40,000 to $50,000 a year, and they can upskill and have a career path through our company. But if they want to get there faster to that, $85K plus level at the true technologist level, if they don't want to wait 20 years to get there, and we don't want them to wait 20 years because we've got a lot of those people retiring, they would go work and go back to school, or go back to school full-time and finish that second year. And that second year, it's very hands-on. It's working with companies, and the way we designed the program was so that they're learning how to work more with computer equipment, how to analyze data, how to use statistical processing, how to work in the advanced manufacturing sector today, which is highly, highly technical and very complex. So we're excited it's launching in the fall. I need about 35 people a year. I have to wait another year to get those 35, but we did run a pilot, and I was really grateful that EVC was allowed us to do that with them, and we ran the electronics. We've already hired 3 people from there. They brought in, we're already promoting 1 that goes very quickly. So we're very excited about that. So if you have any interest in that, please talk with Monty or myself, because we definitely want to get more industry involved.
That's great. And I know from sort of our sort of limited interactions on that basis what a valuable program it is. So beyond industry, are there other things that are kind of missing locally that need to support that? Are the schools engaged to kind of feed into these programs?
Yeah, that part's been a little bit more difficult. I have to say NextFlex has been really helpful because they helped us figure out how to reach out to the high schools, because they do a lot of work, project-based with their flex factors with the high schools, but we had no way to reach out to them. So we've been pretty much, joining their band of, they go around to the high schools, and we go out there and we give a pitch, and we say, this is what we're doing, this is the program we have at EVC, and the kids are really excited. The problem is we just didn't have the program yet. So once we get that set up and we have the infrastructure, I think what I would like to see is I would like to see more community colleges participating and get the show on the road a little bit faster, because everybody needs it. When I was at my table talking to San Francisco Mayor, I said the problem we have is that it's our resources, it's our engineering that's out there with EVC working on this. Where, how can the rest of these community programs help us do some of the work so that we're not taking people off of our factory? Because we're finding that our industry partners don't really have the time they need it. And so my concern is we're driving really hard, but we're probably not getting there fast enough. We just need a little bit more, so we're putting a little bit more muscle in. So I'm looking for support in any way with that, and I'm hoping to, meet some of those people today.
Great. Zahid, can you talk a little bit about sort of talent pipeline and kind of how Flex is attracting folks into the workplace?
So we have also same challenge. It's very hard, super hard to get the talent because like Kelly and Paul, they have a product, and our product change every day. From 1 inches to a 12 by 12 feet room, big structures, telecommunications, rack integrations, small watches, right? So this skill set is very tough to manage. We have our people, which is learning every single day. We don't innovate products every day, we innovate minds too. And it's very hard to get that kind of a talent, which we can be very versatile and accept the challenge of change, right? So it's always challenging the status quo, right? This is the manufacturing process or new product. So we are getting really tough time in getting the talents here. And plus, we have some summer intern program. We attract lots of students every year, and most of the people ended up with us, and they don't want to go because it's hard to see that kind of facility which provides the whole, shebang of things, right? You can see anything which we are building. Our facility is also attracted to the colleges around the world. Many, many colleges come every year around the world, not only local, to see this facility. We have senators, congressmen, governors, and big guys. You just heard that our president went to an Austin facility to see the same thing. So talent is a really challenge. We play very low profile. We are not in the picture. We are behind the scene. Our logo is nowhere. Nobody knows us, but we built it up, everything. So really, we're getting the challenge of skill set, yeah.
Great, and Paul?
Yeah, it's the same message all over again. It's the talent of the technician pool and the ability to actually get partway between a 2-year and a 4-year degree, because our technicians are innovating constantly. We're introducing new manufacturing technologies like virtual reality. We're now using HoloLens glasses actually to help the technicians assemble our satellites. We're using robotically assisted human manufacturing. So robots are used to hold things while technicians can work on them and things like that. Statistics is a very, very big part of our what we do. And so we actually have been training our technicians how to do statistical analysis and use advanced tools and advanced computing techniques in order to build this very complex product. So this program that Kelly's talking about is fantastic step in the right direction. We need more and more of that. And it has to be local, because it's almost impossible to get somebody to come here that hasn't grown up here. Almost impossible.
And has the sort of relocation affected that? Just sort of knowing that the commute is a big part for a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. The farther south we go, the better. Maybe to Gilroy next, but anyway, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
That does make a big difference. And as I said, we did a heat map of where all of our employees are by skill set. We have a bunch of millennials, as you might imagine, in this city. They're all engineers, and
you mean the other city? Right?
Yeah, the other city, the one up, with the bridge. But the majority of the technician staff actually are in South San Jose and sort of East Bay. So this relocation's actually worked out really well for us.
That's fantastic. So just to sort of start closing things out, I want to kind of return to where Kate was with her presentation and just touch on the kind of the $75,000 number. That's what is that? That's sort of somewhere north of $35 an hour. How does that relate to kind of some of the positions that you see, especially on the entry level, especially in those sort of 2 to 4 year sort of college experience type jobs?
Yeah, we're pushing that as being almost an entry-level requirement. We're not quite at 75,000, we're not too far south of it for people that are just coming in and learning now. And as you progress in the technician ranks, you can get, over 100 now.
Yeah, so for us, the entry level will be at that, 35 to 40K, and then they get up to 55. But really, to get to that 75, 85,000 plus a year, that we need the EVC AMT program. We can teach it internally, so like yourself, we've been teaching and training, but that staff has been, on board for 15, 20 years, so it takes a long time. They developed it, and we found we're really not good at being the educators, so that's why we think we need help to teach those people. And also, as we go to backfill, as those people retire out and then the junior technicians come in and then we go to backfill, we have opportunities then for some of our employees who may not be technicians, they may be assemblers and they want to grow, they're operators and they want to grow. Now we have a place to send them because it's very difficult for us to teach that, but now they have an opportunity to grow. So to me, that 2-year program at EVC is going to allow people to get to that higher pay scale if they're motivated and they have the aptitude and they have the drive within 5 to 10 years versus having to wait 20 to 25 years to grow to that level.
For us, we are a hardware company, not software, right? We have too much on integration side. So we have 3 different levels of engineers, technicians, and assemblers, right? So technician is, like Kelly said, is a serious issue here. And engineers, I have about 400 engineers. They're all more than 95 and above, 100 plus above. Technicians are a little lower. And what we are seeing right now, because the competition is there, right, because of the OEMs, they have their own companies, so there is an attraction there. But as what we see here from the engineering perspective, that all the newcomers, the new entry, we are trying to get these about 80 plus for few of the people. The rest is all standard, 90 plus.
Okay. Are there any other sort of trends, just quickly, you're seeing kind of in the workforce, especially the entry level? Some of the sort of other anecdotal things we hear is just there's not the sort of interest at times. I know a lot of the programs that kind of put you guys out there really kind of drive a lot of interest, and people are like, oh, I never really thought about this career in manufacturing until I saw it. Is it sort of increasingly hard to sort of drum up that interest, do you find?
I will say not yet. The awareness needs to be there. So when 2002, when we started offshoring, right? So if you look at from the high level, the valley has gone out of manufacturing. Still, we have lots of manufacturing, but in the real sense, which we do manufacturing, it is gone. So that experience is gone, that education is gone. Millennials are looking at something else more than the software. They don't see manufacturing as the future. And all the senior people who is running this all manufacturing here, one day they will be retiring or they will be moving into the consultancy job. Who is going to run that? Because we are saying we want to bring manufacturing back, cost of living, transportation, and the workforce. We don't have that workforce in the pipeline. So we need to create that awareness by this trainings and what is going on here. So we also part of it, but still going into the schools. We also tapping in the schools. Really premature that they are not even ready to work, but we are telling them what we need to do. So things are challenging, but we still continue to work on that one.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think that we have to work together as a community to attract that talent. So I didn't know who Flex was till I sat next to Zahid until I talked to him on the phone. I was at UC Santa Cruz recruiting yesterday for engineers, but they don't know who they came up because they thought the sign looked cool. But how do you market? What do you guys do? They like the jets and that kind of stuff. So it is cool, and it's gonna be cool if I tell a 5th grader, but how do we market it? And I think working independently, we're not gonna get there. So, it's great we're all here, but, I would love all 3 of us and some other manufacturers to go to the high schools together. Like I said, they're interested. We need the program. We're starting at EVC, but we have to have the program ready. It's almost there. And then we have to be there. My dream is to be on campus at the junior college and the high school saying, here's the program, go do this, and you'll be making this much money next year. Oh, guess what? You can do it and go to school part-time. So I just think we need help marketing that and nobody knows who we are, and who are we competing with? We're competing with Google, who it's so cool, right, and Facebook. That's what's really going on.
Yeah, we don't have a brand name either, but we do, once we bring anybody into our factory, our satellites are so cool and space is so sexy that hiring is really not a problem, but I think continuous development and continuous improvement, training technicians, as Kelly said, to go to the next level. We try to get our techs, actually the good ones, out and get a 4-year degree. And so, allowing people the time and the place to actually learn more and keep advancing in their career, that's one of our big challenges. And I think the community at large needs to help. And if we want to keep, high-tech manufacturing in the Valley, we got to be able to do that somehow.
Great, and I strategically turned this way so I couldn't see Michael hopping up and down when I ran over, but I think I'm running out of time. So let's try and wrap it up. With almost an impossible question. So as you think about the next year and the next 10 years, what do you see? What are the big hurdles, or what are the big opportunities, for San Jose, for the Valley, and for manufacturing?
Well, I've been here in the Bay Area since '81, and that entire time frame, it's always grown and grown and grown in both the cost of housing and the density of population. So somehow we have to figure out the housing. I think the housing problem is probably our biggest challenge right now, because people are not going to drive 3 hours to go to work, and we all need technicians. It's not you can't do this from home. You can't telecommute, right? So we got to figure out the housing problem.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree with that, and I think I'm going to say it more for Cobham. Really, as we look out the next 5 to 10 years, we're growing in this 5% rate, but I have 150 techs, so that means I'm going to need 15 new people a year, but then I have a workforce that's retiring. So that's our biggest challenge, is that I got another 15 retiring, so I really need 30 to 40 techs a year in order to sustain. And although housing's an issue, I know that if we can get the students that are here locally, they live here, they have a place to live, they can live at home while they're going to school, and then we can get them started. And I do think they'll be able to find affordable housing, because I know we're working on that. But to me, again, it's going to be the techs.
I'll give you a joke on that one, right? So we have about 110 factories around the world, and every quarter we look around the performance and look around the cost of each site. And every single time, our site comes the number one, the most costliest site. So I make a joke that, okay, we will get an award at least, right? So because we are on the top, this is actually a problem. And this is all because of cost of living, transportation, finding the talent. And what we do is that we don't have any problem on getting manufacturing to this region. We have manufacturing. We transfer every year millions of dollars off. Customer doesn't like it. The reason customer don't like it, they want to stay here, they want to be close. And why they outsource? That please, can you design, can you prototype, can you build? Because they want to focus on the future. They don't want to manage the operations. So we took over the operations, and now that we are doing the design and everything, we do that. We just say, you go, look at your future, we will do the rest of it. Right now, we only also shipping at the end user. So we take everything out from the customer, so they don't need to worry about, right, where we are going to make the challenges of talent in the future. So if you want that, you say, hey, we need to bring manufacturing, no problem. We have 300 customers here which wants to stay here. And one is the challenge was, we had declared our site. This is the window of our company, the site. Actually, this is also one of the reasons that why we are going outside, because of Made in USA. So Made in USA is a big thing for us for last 3-4 years, and many customers don't want to go. And some who have not Made in USA, they want to stay, but they said, your cost is too high. That's it. So the factors of bringing manufacturing is not manufacturing. We have plenty of manufacturing. This is the brain, right? This hub, this is an innovation hub. We do innovation here. We are driving manufacturing from not me, actually, I'm talking about San Jose. San Jose is driving the future of the world. San Jose is an innovation of kind of a tech hub. And all you can see around the world, they are coming to San Jose to learn. Even when we bring a product into the market, we define manufacturing for Asia. We define manufacturing for Mexico and Europe, right? So this region is so strong and powerful to drive the world of manufacturing. Industry 4.0, which we started, everyone knows about it. It is now going to the 10th year now. We are inside that innovation and revolutionize the process. So we are going through that. We will see that what we can do, but cost is stopping us because of these two things. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Paul?
Thank you. And with that, I'll ask you to join me in thanking three of the coolest manufacturing companies in the area.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, everyone from the panel. Now I just have to unstuff the slide remote from my pocket. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So the one thing I would like to add for Kelly's point, and really for all of their points, as Manufacture San Jose expands its programming through Hiring Made Better, Youth Made, and our pilot launch of Inside Manufacturing this fall, we look to expand the brand of manufacturing career pathways. So stay tuned. Oh, there we go. Okay. So finally, to close this out this morning, I would like to invite Matt Nesper, Senior Vice President and Market Executive at Bank of America, to make some closing remarks. Thank you, Bank of America. Matt is a member of the Manufacture San Jose Advisory Board and a great champion of San Jose manufacturing. So please join me in welcoming Matt Nesper.
Poor Michael, thought I left him. Good morning, everybody. So actually this year I've been in San Jose for 20 years. So I moved here from Fresno right after I graduated from Fresno State. Go Bulldogs. I was going to ask if there's anybody from Fresno. But, you know, I think San Jose is a really exciting place to be. It's changed a lot over these past 20 years, and I think I'm even more excited to see what the next 20 years for San Jose looks like. You know, we heard from Mayor Liccardo this morning. We heard from Kate as well, that it is an exciting place and that there's a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of challenges. And you don't have to look far to see, you know, some of those challenges, the commute, housing, homelessness, and some other things. But again, optimistic about the future, and it's exciting to see everybody supporting this space and to kind of understand how it will help us to move forward. Excited to be a part of Manufacture SJ and to see them supporting the manufacturing industry. From a Bank of America standpoint, there's a few things that we think about internally and what we talk about. Economic mobility, essentially workforce development, basic needs, as well as community development, and then environmental sustainability. And so when I think about manufacturing and that whole ecosystem, there's a lot of opportunity within the confines of all of that for us to make progress. So that's why Bank of America supports not only Manufacture SJ, but also the manufacturing industry. So thank you, everybody, for coming this morning. Before I wrap us up, I just want to thank some of the sponsors, specifically City of San Jose, the Knight Foundation, my company, Bank of America, Bank of the West, California Manufacturing Technology Consulting, CMTC, eBay, ICA Fund Good Jobs, Mounts Inc., TMC Financing, Bruce, and Working Solutions. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.